Mr. Liang Eng Hwa.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank Member Ms. Polisan and the members for tabling this motion to debate on our actions towards a low-carbon society. I would also like to thank the activists from the Young PAP for their detailed and passionate proposal to mitigate climate change. Sir, the motion statement has thoughtfully captured the key thrusts of efforts to transit towards a low-carbon society, focusing on creating green jobs, corporate accountability, partnership with the stakeholders, and importantly, that this transition must be an inclusive one. We are all aligned in recognizing the severity of the climate change threat that is upon us and are mindful of the urgency of actions. Doing nothing or status quo is not an option. As a responsible global citizens, we take our climate change commitments very seriously. But we also know that transiting to a low-carbon society is a mammoth undertaking, especially for a small, alternative energy disadvantaged country with resource constraint like Singapore. While we hope to get to the promised land in double quick time, we have also to ensure that the stakeholders are all able to keep up with the pace, achieve the outcomes that we set out to do, and importantly, sustain high level of public support throughout this sustainability journey. There will be pain points and trade-offs that will need to be addressed and for us as a nation to make, as a society as well, and as individuals. The obvious immediate concerns of many businesses is the transition cost towards a more sustainable and low-carbon business practices. And this takes place against the backdrop of other worrying global trends, such as supply chain disruptions, protectionism, and slower global growth. As businesses look to lower their carbon footprint to meet the demands of their customers or business partners or even their bankers, they may also experience higher capital outlay and operating costs, such as the need for mandated sustainability reporting, the requirements to adopt low-carbon technology, or the use of greener but potentially more expensive raw materials. Domestically, the source of higher cost pressure could also come from government regulations such as energy efficiency requirements and a carbon tax, as Singapore strives towards a more sustainable growth. Externally, as the world decarbonizes, it can also lead to rising energy costs. In the case of carbon tax, it is estimated that every $5 per ton of carbon tax could lead approximately to 1% increase in electricity prices for households and businesses in Singapore. Businesses now need to ready for the next round of carbon tax increases with a likely announcement at next month's budget statement by Finance Minister. So while increased costs would be a concern, we cannot allow that to be the reason to slow our decarbonization efforts. The higher near-term business costs may well be the necessary nudge needed for businesses to pivot, and when overcome, can enable these sustainable businesses to reap good returns and capture new and greater market shares in the longer term. Hence, it is pivotal that we closely support our businesses as they overcome the initial steep challenges in their transition journey to low-carbon practices. Singapore has no domestic hinterland, and we compete with the rest of the world to sustain our livelihoods. In some markets and industries, we may also face competitive comparisons as a place to invest and conduct businesses, with competing economies who have fewer sustainability requirements or are less strict in their implementations. The carbon tax is a case in point. We recognize that carbon tax sends a clear signal that we are serious about decarbonizing our industries and to become more energy efficient and therefore spur the necessary industry transformation. But on the other hand, the impact to our businesses would be that companies may be disadvantaged when competing with jurisdictions that do not impose such taxes or provide exemptions for some carbon-intensive export-oriented sectors. For example, some of these sectors in EU, in China and South Korea do receive allowance, free allowance under their emissions trading systems. And closer to home, in Southeast Asia, there are still economies who compete with us that levy no or lower carbon tax. The short-term impact on business competitiveness and compressed margins may be inevitable. Businesses will need to rely on or strengthen their other competitive propositions such as quality and reliability to defend or grow their market shares. But in the longer term, sustainable businesses may have a competitive advantage as consumers increasingly demand sustainable products and services. So I support the imposition of carbon tax and to progressively increase over time to disincentivize the high carbon emissions business practices. But we have to pace out the incremental increases so that industries will not be dislocated and businesses can carry out the transition while staying as a going concern. It's also important for the government to be open about the timeline to increase carbon tax so as to give businesses time to adjust. Inevitably, there will be businesses that may not be able to break even or cope with the carbon tax increases and may exit. So we have to minimize such casualties and help as many businesses as possible to transit. While the healthy tension by way of carbon tax is necessary to nudge practices, it must be complemented by support measures from the government. MSC Minister Grace Fu has indicated in answer to a recent parliamentary question that the government is prepared to spend more than it collects from carbon taxes on worthwhile projects that reduce carbon emissions. In the same reply, the minister also mentioned about increasing funding support to assist industries in improving energy and carbon efficiency by way of the Resource Efficiency Grant Energy and the Energy Efficiency Fund, E2F. The government is also working with companies based on Jurong Island to transform the island into sustainable energy and chemical park and to develop and export the low-carbon solutions globally. For SME, they can tap on the Enterprise Sustainability Program to build capabilities for green transitions. These support measures and plans are useful. I urge the government to continue reviewing these measures, taking in feedback from businesses and consumers, and enhancing the support where necessary. So the accelerating global momentum and traction on climate change create new opportunities. A 2020 report by Bain Company has estimated that ASEAN's green economy could be worth up to $1 trillion in annual economic benefits by 2030. There's an emergence of green growth areas, such as in electric vehicles, green financing, research and development, R&D of the low-carbon technologies and solutions. Some of these areas are more developed, while others are more nascent, but these are all exciting areas. Singapore needs to ride on this green wave to seize the economic opportunities and not be left out. As a country with limited resources, we need to identify the key strategic growth areas for Singapore that builds on existing strengths, such as our position as a business and a financial hub. There are also newer sectors that we can go into by leveraging our strengths in R&D. For example, R&D presents a pathway for Singapore's company to develop new capabilities, technologies, and innovative products and services in the green economy. Such solutions are particularly sought after in carbon-intensive sectors, such as power generation, industrial processes, transportations, and constructions. To seize green growth opportunities, it is important for government to support and partner the industries and businesses. We have done it before to grow globally competitive industries, and we should and can do it again to grow a thriving green economy in Singapore. So as our economy shifts towards a greener one, new employment opportunities in the green economy will arise. We need to develop the talent pool for Singapore to remain as an attractive destination for businesses, especially for those who place a premium on sustainability. The green economy was identified as a key growth area in the recent SkillsFuture inaugural report. It highlighted that today there are more than 450 job roles in 17 sectors that require green skills, including manufacturing and financial services, trade and connectivity, hospitality, and the built environment. So we can expect more jobs to be greener. It is therefore important for the government and businesses to help workers equip themselves to take on these green jobs, whether within existing sectors or in new sectors. Time and opportunity costs on the part of workers must be factored in to allow them to acquire the new skills and adapt to greener business environment. Mr. Speaker, sir, we need to press on with our efforts to transition into greener Singapore that contributes meaningfully to the global efforts to combat climate change. There are pain points we need to address to ensure smooth transition for businesses and people. To do so, we need to pace up our green transformation and support businesses in their journey, seize the green economy opportunities, and equip our workforce with skills to take on the jobs in the green economy. So with that, I support the motion.